Hi everybody, Sheila Landry here. Today I'm going to teach you how I painted my plaid pattern for my Ginger All the Way treasure box. And this is a pattern that you can paint on just about any surface. You can make it on a round box or on a top of a box. And I do show you how to do it in the instructions. I have a step-by-step, but I thought I'd show you how to do it in a video and do something so you could really see how easy it is to do. Today we're going to use just two colors. We're using True Red for the background, the base coat, and Lamp Black. You could use any colors. You can use a light blue and navy or light blue and green or whatever you want. And I am going to put an accent on with Joe Sonia's Lustrous Gold. I love this gold. It's the richest gold that I've seen in the acrylic paint world. And it gives a really nice, pretty color. So what we're going to do, what I did, I base coated with the red, 2 coats, sanded lightly, and then I gridded out my area. Now this is just a little sample card, but I used 1/2 inch increments, and you could use whatever you want. If you have a smaller piece, you might want to do smaller grid, larger piece, larger grid. So we started out with 1/2 inch, and I have my wet palette here and black paint, and really the whole process is float shading, and it'll be a real good opportunity for you to practice your float shading. So I use, this is my clean water, my little water I call it, and I always put it on my wet palette so it's close. And then when I rinse my brushes, I have a big water here, so this water gets dirty and this one stays cleaner. So when I'm using it for diluting paint, like for float shading, it stays nice and clean and it's not contaminated with other colors. So I use an angle brush for floating. This is a 3/8 inch angler. What I look for in my angle brushes is a chisel edge to be thin and the body to be a little bit heavier so that it holds a lot of paint, but it gives you a nice chisel edge. A lot of people use flat shaders for floating, but I prefer to use the angle because I think it's easier to see how much paint you're picking up. When we float shade, what we're doing is we're using the water to draw the paint from full concentration to nothing. And it travels through the water, so we only want to pick up paint on the little bitty corner edge of the brush. And we're going to blend it on the palette, and you can see it's pulling over already. And when I do a plaid, I start in the middle because then I can even it out and have the design in the middle. And I'm going to float shade one side. And if you notice, I pick up some water and I'm dipping it. I'm not scrubbing it, because you could see when I dip my brush, the heel end, which is the short end, is clear water, and the paint is on the tip or the toe of the brush. And we're going to hold the brush perpendicular to the line that we're painting with. And this holds true when you curve, go around edges, anything like that. And as you see, when we're float shading, you need enough water to move the paint, but you don't want to flood it. So what I do is I dip and I touch to the paper towel. If I need more paint, I dip the tip in, and then I go back and forth, and notice the heel of the brush is on the clean part of my palette. So as I'm doing this project, I walk over that way on my palette. And you could see the line's a little jagged here. That's because it's dry. So what I'm going to do is go over with a little more water. And this is nice if you don't have a steady hand and can't do a fully perfect straight line. See, you get a lot of chances, you do like little choppy strokes almost. It doesn't have to be perfect. So there's your first float. Now we're going to wind up floating the other side of that to make, here, I'll pull this in, to make the bands. But we don't want to do that now because we're going to pull off the paint with our brush. So we're going to skip around a little bit. So we want this to be a red line, and then we're going to go one more over. So we're going to skip. And we're going to do the same thing. And you could see it's fast. It's all these little choppy strokes we're going to put in there. We're making a grid. And I'll do one more. We're going to skip this group. And like you could see where I lifted my hand, well, we'll just go back over and blend that in before it dries. Okay. When it starts to drag, you want to pull more water. It's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of it is feel. It depends how dry your piece is, and you know, if you have it sealed or not. I don't have this sealed. And see, you got a nice soft blend going. So then we're going to start to come this way. And I'll do more here. So we don't want to do this band. And we're going to go over to this band. And now see how this one's a little thicker than that. There's no problem. You just go back over. Pull a little more paint. And note that my brush is touching the whole width of my brush. Yet because this is all clean and water, it's not dragging paint over. Okay? So then we're going to let that dry a minute. And I will be right back. Okay, that just took a minute, but that's why we skip around. Usually by the time we're done, it would be dry. Then I'm going to do the opposite sides. And now because this is dry, because it's acrylic paint, it's not going to reconstitute. We'll start again, and I cleaned my brush in the big water. Pick up paint, blend it. And start pulling the float. Oops. So you see the paint's getting weaker there. I'm going to add a little more. You have a blending, you know, a little bit time to blend this. You don't have to blend it perfect. A lot's going to go on here. So that's why it's kind of a nice practice to float. So I'm going to keep going and do the other 3 bands. And note the position of my brush, and note that it's touching, I'm holding it perpendicular to the line that I'm painting. all the time when I'm floating. Okay, so we have all of our vertical bands done, and now we're going to just turn our piece and do the horizontal ones in the same way. I gotta let this dry though first. Okay, I'm going to start in the middle again. So I think I'll start with this one. And we're going to do the same exact thing. Once again, we're going to let it dry, and then we'll be back and do the other side. Turn it around. There. So that's the basic plaid right now. And there are so many variations. You can do whatever your heart desires as far as varying these to make them look special or different or whatever. And I'm going to show you a couple that I have done that work nice and look cute. So if you want to make them a buffalo plaid, that has the little diagonal lines in it. And it's each of the places where, not where they meet on the black, but the opposite. So it would be like these four, not the corners where they meet. So you can do that with a liner. And what I did, I went all in the same direction. And just take your liner with your black paint and pick a starting spot. I guess I'll start here. And we're going to go just corner to corner. And the way I found that it was the easiest to do is I did the middle line first, and then 2 on each end of it. 2 on each side of it. So we're not going to do here because that's where they cross, but we're going to go next to it. And you could do the middle and 2 and 2. And you want to do that for as much of your design as you wish. Okay, so you get the idea, right? I don't have to show you all of it. And the final thing, I guess you could also, if you want, you could paint these where the lines cross. You can paint those darker black if you feel like. If you think that's something that you might want to have, it'll give it a different look too. And I'm going to use the Jo Sonia Gold because I like to have some metallic in my plaids because I just think it looks cool. And I'm going to use my liner brush again and thin the paint down a little bit. You can use gold ink if you want, if you have that. And where I'm going to put the gold line is going to be through the red areas. So you're going to take your lining brush and gold ink, and then just paint it through there. If I can do it right on camera. And I think this adds like a really nice touch to it. It gives it that little bit of extra finishing. And you're just going through everything. This is a good opportunity to practice your lining. I could have used a longer brush for this. Like a script liner would have held more paint. So once that's dry, you're going to come back the other way like we did before with everything else. And I'm going to try not to stick my hand in it. I'll go from here on. And you're going to cross all the red areas. Do it that way. You could do this on the backs of your ornaments if you want to practice. If you're really ambitious, you'll have to have little tiny lines or boxes to begin with. But see how easy that is to make such a nice design, and see how that gold just gives a little bit of a shine to it. So that's about it. Easy peasy, as I say, and it's something you might want to try. I hope this helps for those of you who were wondering how it was done. Till next time.